Hey tennis fans, welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the hottest takes and smartest strategy from the legends of the game. And today's episode is all about Novak Djokovic. The 24-time Grand Slam champ is officially skipping the Canadian Open, and tennis icon Jimmy Connors is totally on board with the decision. In fact, he's got a few tips of his own for how Noel can hit peak form right in time for Flushing Meadows. So here's what's up. Novak Djokovic hasn't played a match since that tough loss to Jannik Sinner in the Wimbledon semi-final. He was clearly struggling with injury, and now, at 38, Djokovic is having to do what few players in tennis history ever have: compete at the highest level against the youngest, hungriest players on the planet. Djokovic isn't alone either. Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, Jack Draper, all pulled out of the Canadian Open, but it's Djokovic's decision that's gotten the most attention. And that's where Jimmy Connors jumps in. On the latest episode of his Advantage Connors podcast with his son Brett, Jimmy said he's got to monitor his time and effort, because he's the older player on the circuit now. But if he wants to rise to the top when it matters most, like the US Open, he's got to balance rest with match play, so he doesn't go in flat. Connors knows a thing or two about longevity. The guy was still playing Grand Slam semis well into his 30s, and what he's saying makes total sense. You can't go full throttle every week, but you also can't just coast into a slam without any match rhythm. That's why Connors thinks playing Cincinnati is a smart move. Djokovic is expected to return there on August 7th, enough time to get his legs moving again before the big one in New York. Connors even shared how he managed his schedule back in the day. After Wimbledon, he'd take a week off, then hit a few tune-up events like Washington, Indy, or Cincy, take another break, and always gear up mentally for the US Open. Once Wimbledon was over, I was training for Wimbledon the next year. Once the US Open was over, I was training for the US Open the next year. Everything else just fit in between. Now that is a laser focus on legacy. For Djokovic, the stakes couldn't be higher. He's gunning to become the oldest Grand Slam singles champion ever and win his 25th major title in the process. And guess what? The US Open is the perfect place to do it. So, what does Jimmy Connors say Novak needs to do before New York? Rest up, train smart, play just enough to stay sharp, but not too much to risk burnout or injury. Simple, maybe. Effective, absolutely. What do you think? Will Djokovic come roaring back at the US Open and make history again? Or has time finally caught up with the GOAT? Let us know in the comments below. Smash that like button if you're rooting for Novak, and don't forget to subscribe for more tennis legends, big match previews, and exclusive insights.